Hi everyone! Welcome back to Learn English with Podcasts. Today, we're diving into something that is crucial for every English learner: time management. Time management is such an important part of learning any new skill, especially a language like English. Without proper planning and organization, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or even give up.
Absolutely. Jennifer, so many learners face the challenge of not having enough time. But here's the thing, it's not always about the amount of time you have, but how you use it. Even if you only have 10 or 15 minutes a day, you can make real progress if you're consistent.
That's a great point. It's easy to think you need hours to study, but what's really more effective is small, focused sessions. Instead of thinking, I'll study for 3 hours on the weekend, think about how you can incorporate short learning moments throughout your day.
Exactly. And during those short moments, you can really zero in on specific skills. Like, one day you can focus on vocabulary, the next on speaking, and another on listening practice.
And don't forget about integrating English into your daily life. You can listen to English podcasts while commuting, or read English articles during lunch breaks.
Yes, it's all about making the most of those little pockets of time. By the end of this episode, we hope to give you some practical tips to manage your time better and get the most out of your English learning journey.
So, Thomas, let's talk about why time management is such a crucial skill for language learners. Why do you think it's so essential?
Well, Jennifer, time management plays a huge role in achieving long-term success. If you don't have a solid plan in place, it's easy to procrastinate or become overwhelmed by how much there is to learn. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. You need to pace yourself.
Absolutely. A lot of people start off with a lot of enthusiasm, trying to do everything at once. But that can lead to burnout. By managing your time wisely, you're more likely to stick with your learning and actually enjoy it.
Exactly. And consistency is key in language learning. If you're only studying irregularly, it's much harder for information to stick. When you set aside regular, manageable amounts of time each day or each week, your progress will be much faster.
I think another reason time management is so important is that it helps you stay motivated. If you've got a clear schedule and set goals, you're more likely to see how much you've accomplished.
Totally. And it also helps reduce stress. A lot of learners feel anxious about their progress or feel like they're falling behind. But when you've got a good handle on your time, it's much easier to track your progress and not get overwhelmed by everything you have to learn.
Exactly. And by breaking down your study sessions into smaller, more manageable parts, you'll find learning more enjoyable and less of a burden. Now, let's discuss the flip side. What happens when you don't manage your time effectively?
Oh, this is a big one. Poor time management can lead to a lot of issues. For one, you might find yourself trying to cram everything into one session, which isn't very effective. When you rush through material, you don't give your brain enough time to absorb the information.
Exactly. And when you're cramming, you're also more likely to forget things. It's the use it or lose it principle. If you're not reviewing what you've learned regularly, it's easy for it to slip away.
Another issue with poor time management is that it can make the learning process feel overwhelming. If you're not breaking things down into smaller, more manageable tasks, it's easy to feel like there's just too much to do.
That's so true. I've seen many learners give up because they feel like they can't keep up with everything. But if they had just spent a little time organizing their study plan, they would have realized they didn't need to do everything all at once.
It's also demotivating. If you're not seeing consistent progress, it's hard to stay excited about learning. Poor time management can make you feel like you're spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere.
Yes, and frustration is the enemy of learning. When things feel too hard or unmanageable, it's easy to lose confidence. That's why it's so important to stay on top of your time and have a clear, achievable plan. So, how do you actually create a time management plan for your English learning?
The first thing is to be realistic about how much time you can dedicate each day. A lot of people start off with big ambitions, saying they'll study for 2 or 3 hours a day. But realistically, most people can't maintain that.
Absolutely. It's better to start small and build up from there. Even if you only have 20 minutes a day, that's enough to make progress as long as you're consistent.
Another important point is to break your learning into categories like speaking, listening, reading, and writing. That way, you're not just focusing on one skill, but building a well-rounded approach to English.
Right, and once you've divided your study time by skill, you can focus on short, specific tasks. Maybe one day you practice listening by watching a short English video. Another day, you spend 15 minutes writing a short email or journal entry.
And don't forget to schedule time for review. Learning new things is great, but reviewing what you've already learned is just as important for retaining that information.
That's such a good point. A lot of learners don't spend enough time reviewing, but it's crucial for long-term progress. Without review, you're likely to forget much of what you've learned.
And finally, remember to stay flexible. If something isn't working, change it. Your plan should evolve with you as you get better at managing your time and learning English.
What are some tools that can help English learners manage their time better?
One of the best tools, in my opinion, is a simple calendar. Whether it's a physical calendar or a digital one, having a visual representation of your schedule can really help you stay on track.
I agree, and there are so many great apps out there that can help with time management too. For example, apps like Google Calendar or Trello can help you organize your study time and set reminders for when it's time to study.
Another useful tool is a language learning app with a built-in progress tracker, like Duolingo or Babbel. These apps can give you daily reminders and help you track your progress over time.
Yes, those apps are great because they make it easy to squeeze in learning during short breaks. And many of them have built-in challenges or goals, which can help motivate you to stay consistent.
Another idea is to use a timer, the Pomodoro technique, where you study for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break, is really effective for staying focused and avoiding burnout.
I love the Pomodoro technique. It's great because it keeps you from feeling overwhelmed by long study sessions. Instead, you're breaking it up into small, manageable chunks.
Exactly, and it helps you stay fresh, so you don't get tired or lose concentration.
One thing that's crucial for time management is knowing how to prioritize your tasks. Not all tasks are equally important, so learning to focus on the most essential ones first can really help.
Absolutely, Jennifer. I think this is where many learners struggle. It's tempting to try and do everything at once, speaking, listening, reading, writing, but if you don't prioritize, you might spread yourself too thin.
Exactly. You should ask yourself, what's the most important skill for me right now? Maybe you're preparing for a job interview in English, so speaking practice might be more urgent than learning new vocabulary.
And you can also look at your weaknesses. If you're really strong in listening but weak in writing, it might be a good idea to focus more of your time on improving your writing skills.
Yes, and prioritization can change over time. What's important today might be different in a few months. That's why it's important to revisit your goals and adjust your study plan as needed.
Exactly. And once you've prioritized, you can allocate your time more effectively. Instead of trying to do everything at once, you can focus on the tasks that will give you the biggest payoff.
Procrastination is something we all struggle with from time to time. So, how do you overcome it when learning English?
Oh, procrastination can be a real challenge. I think one of the best ways to beat it is to set smaller, more manageable goals. When the task feels too big, it's easy to put it off. But when you break it down, it feels more achievable.
That's a great point. Also, setting deadlines for yourself can really help. Even if it's something simple, like I'll study for 20 minutes before dinner, having that time frame pushes you to get started.
Yes, deadlines are great motivators, and I'd also recommend rewarding yourself after completing a task. Maybe after you finish a study session, you can treat yourself to something fun like watching a movie or taking a walk.
I like that. It's important to make learning enjoyable so you don't see it as a chore. I think another tip is to eliminate distractions. Turn off your phone, close any social media apps, and find a quiet place to study.
Definitely. Minimizing distractions is key. And if you find yourself procrastinating a lot, it might help to switch up your study routine. Sometimes a new environment or a different method of learning can make things feel fresh and exciting again.
That's so true. Variety is the spice of life, after all. The important thing is to keep moving forward, even if it's just a little progress each day. Let's talk about the power of setting specific goals when it comes to managing your time for English learning. Why is goal setting so important?
Setting specific goals gives you direction. It's like having a road map for your learning journey. If you don't know where you're going, it's easy to get lost or distracted.
Exactly. And specific goals are so much more effective than vague ones. For example, instead of saying, "I want to get better at English," you could say, "I want to improve my speaking skills by practicing for 10 minutes a day."
Right. The more detailed your goals are, the easier it is to measure your progress. And when you see yourself achieving those small goals, it boosts your confidence and motivates you to keep going.
Yes, it's all about momentum. And when you achieve one goal, it makes the next one seem more attainable. It's like climbing a ladder one step at a time.
I also think it's important to set both short-term and long-term goals. Your short-term goals could be daily or weekly tasks, like learning 5 new vocabulary words. Your long-term goals might be something bigger, like passing an English exam or being able to hold a conversation fluently.
That's a great strategy. And by breaking down long-term goals into smaller steps, they feel less overwhelming. You can focus on what you need to do today, and over time, you'll see yourself getting closer to that big goal. So, Thomas, what advice would you give to someone who has a really busy schedule but still wants to learn English?
That's a great question, Jennifer. I think the key is to find ways to integrate English into your daily routine, even if you don't have a lot of free time. For example, you can listen to an English podcast while driving or cooking.
Yes, and even if you only have a few minutes here and there, you can still make progress. I often tell learners to take advantage of those in-between moments, like waiting for the bus or standing in line.
Exactly. Another tip is to prioritize quality over quantity. It's better to have a short, focused study session than a long, distracted one. Even 15 minutes of concentrated practice can be more effective than an hour of unfocused learning.
That's so true. And I'd also recommend scheduling your study time. Even if it's just a small block of time each day, putting it in your calendar makes it more likely that you'll actually stick to it.
Yes, making it a habit is key. And remember, you don't have to study for hours every day to improve. Consistency is what really matters. A little bit of practice every day goes a long way.
Exactly. It's all about making English learning a part of your routine, even if you have a busy schedule. Let's talk about the importance of tracking your progress when it comes to time management and language learning.
Tracking your progress is essential because it helps you see how far you've come. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't feel like you're improving, but if you look back at where you started, you'll often see that you've made a lot of progress.
Exactly. And tracking your progress also allows you to identify what's working and what's not. If you're not seeing the results you want, you can adjust your study plan and try something new.
Yes, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You can simply keep a journal of what you've studied or use an app that tracks your learning. The important thing is to be consistent and reflect on your progress regularly.
I agree. And don't forget to celebrate your successes, no matter how small they may seem. Every step forward is a step closer to your goal.
Absolutely. Learning a language is a journey, and tracking your progress helps you stay motivated and on track.
And as you track your progress, you can adjust your time management plan to focus on areas that need more attention or try new learning methods if you're feeling stuck.
That's right, flexibility is key. Your time management plan should evolve as you grow as a learner.
One of the most valuable tools in learning English is receiving feedback. Whether it's from a teacher, a language partner, or even an app, feedback helps you identify areas for improvement.
Absolutely, Jennifer. Feedback is crucial because it gives you an outside perspective. Sometimes we don't realize our own mistakes until someone else points them out.
Right. And feedback isn't just about correcting mistakes, it's also about positive reinforcement. Knowing what you're doing well can motivate you to keep going.
I agree, and it's important to seek out feedback regularly. Don't wait until you've been studying for months to ask for it. Frequent feedback helps you course correct early on.
Yes, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are an essential part of learning. The more you make, the more opportunities you have to learn from them.
Exactly. And remember, not all feedback has to come from a formal setting. You can get great feedback from having conversations with native speakers or using language apps that offer corrections.
That's a great point. The key is to be open to feedback and use it as a tool to improve, not as something to feel discouraged by. Let's talk about how technology can help with time management in learning English. These days, there are so many tools available to make learning more efficient.
Absolutely, Jennifer. From apps that help you practice vocabulary to platforms that offer one-on-one tutoring sessions, technology has made it easier than ever to manage your learning time effectively.
Yes, and many apps allow you to track your progress, set daily goals, and even send reminders to study. It's like having a personal coach in your pocket.
That's true. Another great feature is the ability to learn on the go. Whether you're commuting, exercising, or cooking, you can listen to podcasts or watch English videos. Technology makes it easy to fit learning into your busy schedule.
Exactly. And with so many options out there, you can choose the tools that work best for your learning style. Whether you prefer flashcards, grammar exercises, or interactive conversation practice, there's something for everyone.
One thing to keep in mind, though, is not to rely solely on technology. While it's a great tool, it should complement, not replace, other methods like real-life conversations or reading physical books.
Definitely, technology should enhance your learning, not limit it. But when used effectively, it can be a game changer in terms of managing your time and staying on track with your goals. So, Thomas, let's talk about something that's often overlooked in time management: rest and relaxation. Why is it important to take breaks when learning English?
That's a great question, Jennifer. Rest is essential because our brains need time to process and absorb new information. If you're constantly studying without breaks, you can quickly become overwhelmed and burn out.
Exactly. Taking regular breaks helps you stay focused and improves retention. Sometimes, stepping away from your studies for a little while can actually help you come back with a clearer mind.
And rest doesn't just mean taking a nap or watching TV. It can be something active, like going for a walk or doing a hobby you enjoy. Anything that helps you relax and recharge is beneficial.
I agree. It's also important to get enough sleep. Studies have shown that sleep plays a crucial role in memory retention, which is obviously key when learning a language.
Yes, sleep is often underestimated in the learning process. If you're sleep deprived, it's much harder to concentrate and retain information.
So, for anyone trying to manage their time effectively, remember that rest is just as important as study time. It's all about balance.
Exactly. The more balanced your routine, the better your learning outcomes will be in the long run.
Thomas, have you ever experienced a language plateau? You know, that point where it feels like you're not improving anymore.
Oh, definitely. Plateaus are a common part of the language learning journey. You might be studying consistently but feel like you're not getting any better. It can be really frustrating.
I think most learners go through that at some point. But the good news is plateaus are temporary. They're often a sign that you've reached a new level and just need to push through to make more progress.
Exactly. One way to break through a plateau is to try something new. If you've been focusing on grammar, switch to practicing conversation. Or if you've been doing a lot of listening, try writing. Changing up your routine can help stimulate new growth.
That's great advice. Another thing that can help is revisiting your goals. Sometimes, when we hit a plateau, it's because we've lost sight of what we're working towards. Setting new, specific goals can help reignite that motivation.
And don't forget to celebrate the small wins along the way. Just because you're in a plateau doesn't mean you're not improving. Maybe you're better at understanding movies or having longer conversations in English. Those are signs of progress too.
Absolutely. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. Plateaus are just part of the journey, and with patience and persistence, you can overcome them. Consistency is probably one of the hardest parts of learning a new language. How do you stay consistent, Thomas?
It can be tough, Jennifer, but I think the key is building language learning into your daily routine. Even if it's just for 15 or 20 minutes a day, the important thing is to do it regularly.
I agree. It's much better to study a little bit every day than to cram for hours once a week. Consistency is what helps build habits and, over time, those habits lead to fluency.
Yes, and I think another important factor is motivation. You need to remind yourself why you're learning English. Whether it's for a job, travel, or personal growth, keeping that goal in mind helps you stay committed.
Definitely, and it helps to track your progress, like we talked about earlier. Seeing how far you've come can be really motivating, especially on days when you don't feel like studying.
Another tip is to make learning enjoyable. If you're bored with your study routine, it's hard to stay consistent. Mix things up, watch English TV shows, listen to music, or play language games. The more fun you have, the more likely you'll stick with it.
That's so true. Consistency doesn't have to be a chore. Find what works for you and keep moving forward, little by little. One of the best ways to learn English is to immerse yourself in the language, even if you're not living in an English-speaking country. Thomas, how do you suggest creating a language learning environment at home?
That's a great question, Jennifer. I think the key is to surround yourself with English as much as possible. Start with the little things like changing the language on your phone and computer to English. It forces you to read and interact with English every day.
That's a really good point. Small changes like that can make a big difference. You can also start labeling items around your home in English. For example, you can put a label on your fridge, your mirror, or your bookshelf with the English words. It's a constant reminder to think in English.
Exactly. Another great way to create an English-rich environment is to consume English media. Watch TV shows, movies, or YouTube channels in English, listen to English podcasts, and read English books. The more English you're exposed to, the more natural it will feel.
Yes, and it's important to make these activities enjoyable. If you love cooking, watch cooking shows in English. If you're into sports, listen to sports podcasts in English. That way, you're learning without feeling like you're studying.
And don't forget to practice speaking. Even if you don't have someone to practice with, you can talk to yourself in English. Narrate your daily routine or describe what you see around you. The more you practice speaking, the more comfortable you'll get.
That's a fantastic tip, Thomas. Speaking to yourself might feel a little awkward at first, but it really helps build confidence. And when you do have the chance to speak with others, you'll be more prepared.
Exactly. Creating a language learning environment doesn't mean you have to move to an English-speaking country. You can bring English into your home and immerse yourself in it every day.
Let's talk about balancing grammar and vocabulary. Some learners focus too much on one and neglect the other. Thomas, how can learners strike a balance between these two crucial aspects of language learning?
That's a great topic, Jennifer. I think it's important to remember that grammar and vocabulary work hand in hand. You can't really communicate well without both, but I'd say it depends on your goals. If you're a beginner, you might want to focus more on vocabulary at first so you can start building your ability to communicate basic ideas.
I agree. Vocabulary is like the building blocks of language. Without words, you can't express yourself, even if your grammar is perfect. But as you progress, grammar becomes more important because it helps you organize those words into clear, understandable sentences.
Exactly. And once you have a good foundation of vocabulary, you can start focusing more on grammar rules. It's not about memorizing every grammar rule perfectly, but rather understanding the patterns and how they fit together with the vocabulary, you know?
Right, and it's important to practice both in context. For example, instead of just studying grammar in isolation, try using it in sentences that include the new vocabulary words you're learning. This way, you're reinforcing both skills at the same time.
Yes, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Whether it's with vocabulary or grammar, mistakes are a normal part of the learning process. The more you practice, the better you'll get at using both accurately.
Absolutely. The key is to keep a balance. You don't have to master grammar before you can start learning more vocabulary, and you don't have to memorize thousands of words before you start working on your grammar. A balanced approach is what leads to fluency. Thomas, one thing we haven't touched on much is the role of culture in language learning. How do you think understanding English-speaking cultures can benefit language learners? Thomas, one thing we haven't touched on much is the role of culture in language learning. How do you think understanding English-speaking cultures can benefit language learners?
Oh, I think it plays a huge role, Jennifer. Language and culture are deeply connected. When you learn a language, you're also learning how people from that culture think, express themselves, and interact. Understanding the cultural context behind certain words and phrases can really enhance your comprehension and communication skills.
Definitely. For example, in English, certain idioms or expressions don't make sense unless you understand the cultural background. Take the phrase break the ice, for example. Without knowing the cultural context, a learner might not understand that this phrase is used to describe starting a conversation in an awkward or tense situation.
Exactly. And culture also influences how people communicate. For instance, English speakers from different countries like the UK, the US, and Australia might use different phrases or have different conversational styles. Understanding these differences can help learners communicate more effectively depending on who they're speaking with.
Yes, and learning about holidays, traditions, and social norms in English-speaking countries can also be really interesting. It makes the language come alive and gives learners more insight into how and why people use certain expressions.
And let's not forget that understanding culture can also help with nonverbal communication. Things like gestures, facial expressions, and body language vary from culture to culture, and being aware of those differences can help learners avoid misunderstandings. That's a great point, Thomas. So, for learners who want to improve their English, I'd recommend exploring not just the language, but also the cultures of English-speaking countries. It adds a whole new dimension to your learning experience.
When it comes to language learning, setting goals is essential. But Thomas, how can learners set realistic and achievable goals?
That's a really important question, Jennifer. I think the first thing to remember is that language learning is a long-term process. It's easy to get discouraged if you set goals that are too ambitious. So, start with small, achievable goals. Instead of saying, I want to be fluent in English in a year, you might say, I want to be able to hold a basic conversation in 6 months.
That's a great approach. Breaking down your larger goal into smaller, more manageable steps makes the process less overwhelming and more achievable. For example, a beginner might set a goal to learn 10 new words a week. Over time, those small steps add up.
Exactly. and it's important to track your progress along the way. Whether you're keeping a journal, using a language app, or working with a tutor, seeing your improvement over time is a great motivator to keep going.
Definitely. And another key is to be flexible with your goals. Sometimes life gets busy, and you might not be able to study as much as you'd like. It's okay to adjust your goals based on your schedule. The important thing is to stay consistent, even if it's just for a few minutes a day.
That's right, consistency is more important than cramming. And don't forget to celebrate your achievements along the way. No matter how small, every step forward is progress. Absolutely. Setting realistic goals, tracking your progress, and being flexible are all essential parts of staying motivated and on track with your language learning journey.
Thomas, speaking in a new language can be one of the most intimidating aspects of language learning. How can learners build their confidence in speaking English?
You're right, Jennifer. Speaking can be really nerve-wracking, especially if you're worried about making mistakes. But the only way to get better at speaking is to practice, even if it feels uncomfortable at first.
I agree. One thing that helps is starting small. You don't have to jump into long conversations right away. Start by practicing simple phrases or introducing yourself. Gradually build up to more complex sentences as you gain confidence.
Yes, and finding a supportive environment is key. Whether it's a language exchange partner, a tutor, or a group of fellow learners, practicing with people who are patient and encouraging makes a big difference.
Definitely. And don't forget that everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. The important thing is to learn from those mistakes rather than let them hold you back. The more you speak, the more natural it will feel.
That's right. And another tip is to speak English out loud, even when you're by yourself. Whether you're reading a book, practicing a dialogue, or describing your day, speaking aloud helps you get used to the sound of your own voice in English.
Exactly. It's all about building up your confidence little by little. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become. And before you know it, speaking English will feel much more natural.